Hello and welcome to the Smashi Business Show, everyone. Today is Monday, November 24th, 2025, and I'm Wed Badawi.
And I'm Richard Fitzgerald. Good to be with you all today.
So for the headlines today, we're going to be discussing how the UAE has launched a $1 billion AI initiative to accelerate the digital development across Africa. And secondly, we are finally going to see Telegraph's sale, and this time it's to the Daily Mail, and we're going to tell you more about that. And thirdly, the fifth Starbucks has closed in Jordan as more boycotts are intensifying. Sorry about the teleprompter. It's we lost the handle. But how are you, Rich?
I'm good, Rich. Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, we're sort of jumping around in this busy season, aren't we?
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Abdelmajid is in Doha for MWC. So he'll be live broadcasting from there. MWC, when I was in London and Ireland 15 years ago, it was like the cool Barcelona conference at the Rise of Mobile. It's really nice to see it in the region. So yeah, Abdelmajid will be there. But yeah, how have you been, Ward? Good?
I've been good. It's been an interesting time. I think for me, I'm in university, but I think that it's gonna increase my pain tolerance, my pain resilience.
Yeah.
Last I saw your story, Rich, it was Sephora. You were walking across Sephora. Can you tell me about that? Because I didn't go to Sephora. If you guys basically saw, they had a big scandal because of the fact that it was very crammed. A lot of people didn't get what they actually bought. The VIP tickets that they got, they didn't get the privileges because of it. What was the scene like outside?
So I got there, and so it was 2 days or 3 days, and they actually did a really good job. So they moved it from Coca-Cola Arena. It's the third year it's been in the UAE, and imagine Sephora, this global brand, hosts Sephora in the region for all the beauty brands, all the brands that you talk about, Ward, on the show all the time. They were all there, the influencer brands, and then the household brands as well. They were all there at Sephora. They hosted it at Al Wasl Plaza. So Expo City is going through a little bit of a post-Expo journey, and it has some events. It's finding its shape, and next year it will have GITEX and these events, and a lot of the conferences will be at Expo City, and a lot of the concerts will be at the Dubai Parks and Resort where the Untold was. So went there, drove around in circles, parked, went to pick up my wife, walked through, and it was seamless. It was amazing. It looked beautiful. It was Fantasyland because they just, like the beauty world these days, they just have these blow-up, big pop-up, bright color lipsticks, lips. It's just wild, right? But Al Wasl Dome, the beauty of the dome, I remember seeing Coldplay live in the dome during Expo. So when the Al Wasl Dome, Al Wasl Plaza is alive, it's such a stunning backdrop. It's really beautiful. So what I think happened is I think they just weren't ready. So they said doors were 6 to 11. The Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, I think. And the dome just wasn't, all the booths weren't ready. So you had these VIP people who were invited and paid for 600 dirhams a ticket for the first night. And 12,000 people at one point were queuing up online in September to buy tickets. The Ladies in Love Dubai show on Friday morning said it was basically the ticket situation in September was Coldplay 2.0. People, the fever is there. And for a guy, I don't understand, because I'm aren't these in the mall?
I had so much FOMO.
Yeah, but
I wish I went.
But they're in the mall. Why don't you just go to the mall?
No, because it's that I think it's kind of that hype of the freebies. You have Makeup by Mario, the really famous American makeup artist there.
But you're paying for the bag.
But still,
it would be like triathlon athletes getting excited about the free bag, but you get the bag and the fee.
But you know what it is? It's kind of that community feeling.
I get it.
It's kind of when you all watch a football match together.
I get it and I don't get it. I get it, and it was amazing. But the thing is, the sort of fever and furore about the delays was because you're putting in very entitled people who get the best of Dubai and get invited to everything, and they got a little bit annoyed just because they were delayed an hour. They were delayed an hour, but there's lines at conferences and lines for food and lines everywhere in the Western world is commonplace. Lines in Dubai, at traffic or any delays, we get a little bit frenzied. So there was a frenzy for an hour, but once people got in, it was amazing. And from what I saw, they got their bags. And then day two, all the comments are everything was perfect. But that TikTok moment, and then Sephora put a post up using the word sorry in it. The National and Khaleej Times wrote an article saying Sephora said they're sorry. Lovin Dubai did, and they bullied us to take it down. Fine, let them. But like basically they handled the situation really well. They sorted out day 2. Everyone got in. My wife went on the first night. She had a great experience. She was delayed a bit at the start. Didn't complain about it. Did a nice post. Next day, everyone said it was cool. But it's sort of this frenzy of like people overreacting for a delay, and then brands getting super protective where like 99% of the event worked. It was beautiful. Everyone was talking about it, but it's just this controlling thing of like, oh my God, someone saying that there was people that were not allowed to, and in any part of the world they wouldn't be able to control it. But
And you know what I also think it is, by the way? I think that all PR is good PR. Maybe this was slightly negative, but I think in the end of the day that it put so much attention on it. And I think with...
It wasn't negative. It wasn't negative.
I mean,
I know what you mean. It looks negative,
saying.
but if you think about it, Ward, right now, Dubai and the region is absolutely cluttered with events, right? And people are talking about Sephora. Like, people used to talk about Victoria's Secret's runway and they tried to come back. Like, that used to be big on YouTube 15 years ago. But now people are talking about Sephora on TikTok. You know how hard it is to get cut through? Like, people partner with Lovin Dubai for so many events. Every weekend in November, in Q4, we have 10, 15 media partnerships. Not even a slight exaggeration. Like, it's insane. Like, the cut, you can't get cut through. I couldn't mention 5 or 6 events that happened this weekend that some people in the city wouldn't have heard about. Like, Casey and them mentioned it on the show today. Like, we had the Dubai Run, 370,000 people at that. We had, Teddy Swims. Like, every weekend there's something. There's Dubai Watch Week, there's everything. Do you think that if I asked everyone in the office what month of the year was Dubai Watch Week, they wouldn't say it was last 3 days. If I asked them when Sephora was, they would say. So like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's so hard. Every brand wants to launch an event, right? Like Zomato tried to launch an event, like Zomato Fest in India. Everyone wants to launch an event that's outside their comfort zone. Sephora have it. They've done amazing. It's wonderful. It's ticketed. They make money from it. It brings people together. It allows young people, young females and guys in the region who want to launch beauty products now have something to aim for. The booths that they've created, like, their dream is to have a stand at Sephora. Like, that's the dream. And they've done it. And they're getting antsy over 1 or 2 little posts. Like, be grateful for what you've created. You've worked so hard into it. Have a bit of maturity on it. Like, be really happy what you've got in the cut through. Because if they don't, this sort of behavior won't be the mature decision making to continue the success and to listen to feedback and to go, Sephora is absolutely incredible. How do we maintain that for 50 years? The greatest events in the world, Oscars, Cannes Lion, they're all 80 or 100 years old. Dubai Run is 7 years old, right? The events that are protected and looked after, 1 Billion Summit now is his 3rd or 4th year. They're doing such a good job. They keep on adding amazing things. They've done the 1 Billion Acts of Kindness with Mr. Beast. They're adding round tables. They're adding so much. Every time I see under the hood of what they're doing, I'm like, oh my God, this is what you need to do for sustain long term. And yeah, do protect your brand and do protect defamation and do protect things that are wrong. But don't protect, like, if you're in the social media world and you're benefiting from the frenzy of people posting about tickets, then don't sort of like try and control everything, because I don't think it's sustainable. I don't think that sort of behavior is going to protect what you've got in the future.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Wow, that was a lot there. And I think for me also, when I think of Sephora, I think they really stand out because of the fact that, by the way, they're owned by LVMH. And I think, as a Western-born brand, they've done a very great job of recognizing what people in this region like, what people overall like, and going through the controversies. Because I feel like something that I've noticed lately, Rich, is that, the second we hear, oh, this brand is being boycotted, oh, trouble in paradise, companies are so quick to like drop people, either drop people or drop brands. And I feel that with Sephora, We haven't seen that. And I think we've
They've done
specifically seen...
amazing. Keep Huda, yeah.
Huda Beauty. We've seen that exactly with her case, despite the fact that, you know, she may protest for things that they're against or for.
So why
no
don't they use that sort of maturity? Because you're right, they brilliantly handle that. So why don't they apply that thinking to Sephora? Because you're right, they're amazing. And the thing is, like, it is competitive. Like, Sephora has basically market share, right? But Ulta is opening here. You know, they have the hoardings. They had Bella Hadid. Ulta is their main competitor in the US, cosmetic beauty stores. And they're opening here with, I think, Al-Shaya. They partner with someone and they already have taken 3 or 4 units. So the world is going to get even more and more competitive, and we can almost segue into I think the Starbucks story would be good.
Yes, we can. So essentially what's happening, this is a story about Jordan. So a 5th Starbucks branch has officially closed in Jordan as the pro-Palestinian boycotts continue gaining momentum nationwide. Now, the latest shutdown took place in downtown Amman following 4 permanent closures earlier this year. Now, the campaign, active for nearly over 2 years, has intensified as public sentiment in response to events in Gaza. And I think that when we take a look at this, honestly, you know, putting aside, you know, what is going on is very important. But I'm happy to see that these brands are being boycotted, and not because of, you know, being a social justice warrior, but I just feel like there's so many better brands. There's so many better opportunities. I get ad knock every single day. That is such good. That is such good gas station coffee. Honestly, at this
point, we
point,
had it the other day just because.
No way.
It's really good. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Which drink did you get?
Just go for the Americano, but the black coffee is good. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, I get the iced Spanish latte, but I think I'm sorry. I'm just really passionate that a gas station that's born in AD, it's by ADNOC, the very large oil conglomerate, can make coffee that good. But I think that when I take a look at this story about Jordan and them closing down Starbucks, I think much more than the fact that it indicates that people are getting louder, people are getting more mad about events that are happening in the world, I think it's very telling that we need new brands. We need new brands. We need new OGs. We need new traditional brands. And I think we see that with Saddle here. You know, we have new brands that are coming up. And I think events like this give opportunity to better tasting companies to actually win. And that's why I like seeing it. There's a part of me that likes seeing these boycotts, even if I don't participate in it.
Yeah, and I also don't agree really with the boycotts. Like I don't.
Why?
Well, I mean, obviously, you know, I totally condone or disapprove of the genocides that's taken place. But no, and I think also I agree with you. I'm pro brands from this region. I'm pro stories to this region, but I'm also pro like open business, as in let the market decide. So let the market decide that the ADNOC coffee is better than the Starbucks coffee, and let that's what a fair playing game is. So if you're an entrepreneur in the region from the 500,000 or from Juju Beans or for any of the or Arabica coffee or Backyard or any of these brands or raw coffee that are growing, like let them grow, and if I'm trying to beat Starbucks in the US, I want to beat Starbucks. Like, isn't there a coffee chain by a Lebanese or half Lebanese? Isn't there a coffee chain that's doing well? Not the bottle blue one, but there's one that's doing really well now in the US. But are they doing what? Would they like to win because someone's boycotting their opposition, or would they like to win because the market's allowing people to decide?
But Rich, I don't even think it's about like what the founder wants, because I think for me, the time that it really started of not going to Starbucks was COVID. Obviously, when COVID came and, that fear was sparked in people, my mother advised me, don't go drink anywhere, don't go anywhere. COVID happened in 2020. Then we go to 2023, the genocide. It's like I was more dissuaded as a consumer. And when I actually started trying out more products, I was like, oh my God, we've all been like mind controlled or something. There has to be a term in psychology for this, where you choose something
marketing.
Because it's just, when you choose something just because it's the best.
But it's marketing. It's like, how does McDonald's or Coca-Cola, Acquired podcast, have just done a 4-hour, 40-minute episode on a Coca-Cola. Acquired is that good podcast in the US where two guys dissect the history of the company. So, how do you create something? We should be studying these and not like taking them down, because if we want to create the same for the region, like that's what we aspire for, right? Like if it's Milaf Cola in Saudi based on dates, or Frio have just launched cola.
Rashid Al Falasi, it's homegrown, it's what's it called? It's zero sugar. And I think you know why it's so important? We have a sugar tax that's coming. I don't know if you guys forgot about this, but
that's a good point.
You should remember this. In 2026
yeah.
in January, you're gonna get taxed if you're putting too much sugar.
Yeah. So does it tax, would that be added to the price? So it means his product will be cheaper. I've tasted Rashid's cola.
How's it like?
It's actually good. I don't have a sweet tooth too much, so I actually really liked it. It's a good cola. I like the Milaf one, but I think the Frio one there's something, it's a bit sweeter. So the Milaf one suits me more because it's dates and it's not as sweet, the Saudi one. But the Emirati one, the Frio cola, they started with coconut water, many flavors, and now they've sort of went strong on cola, which is smart, but it's actually a bit sweeter. So I can think, but it's done based on no sugar. He's got flavorings and things in there, but the ingredients are all on the pack, and it's all very healthy, and it's all very good. I think he has a chance. And it's very red. Too. It's very, whereas Milaf is like, the colors are a bit pale. I think there was a picture of Yassan Ramayan with the new product of Milaf. You had that, yeah. But Rashid's cola basically looks like a
and I think that's good because I've been going to restaurants lately. I went to Marmaletta in AD, and they basically gave me this like Coke brand that's. I don't even remember its name, but its color just threw me off. Like I was not comfortable, even though it tasted exactly like a Coca-Cola, by the way. But the color just threw me off because it's not.
Pepsi
it's not what I'm used
do a different
to.
color though, don't they?
It's not what I'm used to. But just on what you brought up, Rich, about there just being like one market player that is taking over everything, and it is not really giving an opportunity to other people. It kind of just reminded me of NVIDIA. Obviously, we've seen the kind of influence that NVIDIA has had. It's the first company in the world to go above $4 trillion, I believe $5 trillion actually, and they are who is basically creating this AI bubble because they provide what all these companies need. Do you think that at some point, especially with the progress that's happening in the UAE, with Saudi, Stargate UAE, especially with Humane, the new startup, I don't think it's a startup anymore. They have like a $10 billion AI fund that they started. I can't call them a startup, but that started when Donald Trump came in May to Saudi Arabia. Do you think that they're going to break this at some point? Are we always going to see that NVIDIA is always going to win and be that main supplier that everyone gets?
They could potentially be the leading one, but I don't necessarily see it as a negative to have a leading player. As long as the opportunities to enter are fair, if someone wants to do what they did, like over 20, 30 years, evolve from different types of chips into this, if someone wants to enter the market fresh, Kevin O'Leary, the US pundit, is in Dubai at the moment, and he posted on his Instagram today about all the gigafactories, all the data centers that are being built, and he has one with his name on in Canada. And in the list, there's like 8 of them of the US flag, and one, which we know about, is the UAE 5 gigawatt one, and the Stargate one in Abu Dhabi being built, and it has the stage of it being built. And obviously, when you see all that, I think NVIDIA's earnings were out last week, and people were wondering would they go up or down, and they smashed their Q3 revenue, and their share price just flew up again. And I think that's when they crossed out of the $1 trillion revenue. So there's obviously always many players. There's other people making chips, but NVIDIA are I'm not an expert, but NVIDIA obviously the chips that they have at the moment are the key in the market. But how long do they sustain it? Like the history of the stock market, the history of companies there's windows, right? Like the top 5 market cap in the world, they never last longer than 30 years ish, right? Like, people sort of are waiting for that period of Apple, like post Tim Cook now, when he eventually leaves. Like, what's next for Apple? Like, are they going to continue to retain their status as well? Like, when I was born, the top 5 companies were all oil or financial, and now they're not. Aramco is like basically the outlier at the top because they only really, you can have private companies, but they only went public a few years ago. So. But all the other are the FANG or whatever you call the big tech guys that are up there. So now we are seeing like kind of hardware enablers companies entering there, like NVIDIA. And I think, I had a private session with the founder of VLC, the video software, a few weeks ago. He's a French guy, and he did non-for-profit, a bit like Wikipedia, Jean-Baptiste, a French guy. And he sort of said that, like, the software is going to become more cheaper and accessible, even though Google's share price has just rocketed up because Warren Buffett put $6 billion into them recently. So he divested his interest in Apple, and he's invested in Google, and it just went up like 20-30%. So, but basically Google's obviously in the software space, but it's sort of, there is a thought out there that we are leading into a hardware-software combination. So owning headsets, owning mobile phones, owning chips, that sort of enablement, like maybe the new wearable will be the next Google or Facebook. Maybe that's sort of hardware, software combined, and maybe that's how you challenge NVIDIA. I don't know.
I see what you mean. I think I brought up that point specifically because the CEO of Humane, Tariq Amin, the Jordanian-born American CEO, he mentioned something in like every single one of his speeches, and it's that point of we need to democratize AI. And it's when you think of NVIDIA, I don't really think it's Jensen Huang that's saying, I don't want to give you all the chips. I think he would. I think it's the fact that he works under the American government. He can't just give it to everyone. But I think
he just basically says he wants to democratize. He just wants to make it cheaper.
No, but when I hear that word, but you don't just hear cheaper. If you make something cheaper, that means everyone can get access because.
But that's also the same as saying democratize.
Because it's not just high. It shouldn't just be high developed countries that should be able to purchase it. It should be low developed countries. Everyone should have access to this AI because we see how much we benefit from it. But yeah. Yeah,
it's a good point. I mean, I think everyone, like, it depends if you're on the inference. If you're on the usage of AI, it is pretty cheap. Like most that like Grok, like most of them are pretty cheap. Like you can have freemium versions of these apps. Like if I can't upload, I know I'm probably paying for some of these, but if I can't upload an image to dissect on ChatGPT, I just open my Grok app, which is the X, and I just do it there. Or Gemini might do it, or like the LLMs there's a few of them, and some people are doing tests of like getting ChatGPT to make their Geminis faster or better. Like everyone's sort of playing around. So I think it sort of is accessible. But he's more of a thought leader in this space, and we can only listen and learn. But he's doing great.
Moving to our next topic. Sorry, we stayed on that one for a while. RedBird-IMI, the US UAE investment consortium backed by Abu Dhabi's His Highness Sheikh Mansour bin Zayed Al Nahyan, has agreed to a deal to sell the Telegraph titles to the Daily Mail for £500 million, and General Trust DMGT, owned by Lord Rothermere, has entered a period of exclusivity to acquire the historic newspaper group. Now, for everyone hearing this, I think that this is the end of a very, very long journey. We saw how at first it said that it's not going to be approved, and then right after that, we heard that it's going to be approved. And then the latest update right before we heard of this decision is that, in fact, there was staff pushback. That was the main reason that they were saying that they're not going to be able to buy it. IMI with their 15% stake and RedBird with the majority stake, and they're not going to be able to buy it. And after that staff pushback, that is when we have finally heard of this news of the Daily Mail finally acquiring the titles of the Telegraph. Now, I think that some people, when they take a look at this story, Rich, they take this very Western-centric perspective of, oh, this is happening because, AD is very controversial or IMI is very controversial. By the way, if you don't know, IMI overlooks major publications in the UAE. So you have Sky News Arabia, you also have The National. So they've done quite great work. But when I take a look at this,
Arabic,
when you take a look at this, thank you. When you take a look at this, I don't really think that this is a controversial story. I think that, this is a story of a group of people who would like their own people to own the publications. And I think I would much rather if they tried to practice what they preach in the Middle East. And I think we kind of saw that with the New York Times. Not many people here are actually happy with them because they don't actually hire our own people. Like when I see the story about the Telegraph, I just see it as, okay, like they're people who want their own people in leadership. They don't want anyone coming from the UAE or someone who's Arab writing for them. And listen, I'm not saying this writing's anything's gonna be wrong with it, but that's just the way that they think. But you know what? I think the same. I don't want someone who's outside of my region writing for me. Don't write for me.
So
I'm okay with it.
It's fascinating, and there was very talented senior people who've since moved on with IMI involved in this, and IMI in Abu Dhabi. The Rani Rad was there. He's left. The lady Rania, who's the new CEO of the Giving Movement. So there's a lot of knowledge down there in Abu Dhabi about what happened and their side of the vision.
Yeah.
Jerry Cardinale, the principal at RedBird Capital, was trying to do this transaction. There's so many different lenses to look at it. We've covered it from an Abu Dhabi media point of view, ownership of UK media, the Brits not liking the Arabs, blah, 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 this sort of narrative in this lens, and like state control over national media assets, and the Telegraph being a Tory, right-wing sort of old Custodian newspaper, and in the right hands it could be like a New York Times, and you could build it up, and it could be that sort of thing. But there's so many different ways of looking at it. It's interesting that you said that they don't want their people owning it. One of the angles and one of the nuances to this story, it was written by Lino Barber, the ex-editor of the FT, on his Substack, that Chris Evans is the editor of the Telegraph.
Why did I think you were bringing up the actor? Sorry.
And there's another Chris Evans who is a radio DJ. So this is a Chris Evans that I don't know, right? But he's the editor of the Telegraph, and he's the one who had the fight. He's the one. It wasn't unions. It was him using the front page of the Telegraph that we don't get here for the last few months to push their agenda. And they've done everything. They've written about Sudan. They've written about so many things. Anti-here, anti-everywhere, anti-Cardinale, any way they could to keep control of their voice. And one of the things is, Jerry Cardinale at IMI, RedBird, hired someone else, someone who could be an editor of the future Telegraph. He used to be with the FT. So when he was hired as part of the bid, the current editor felt threatened by his own people, by a British journalist. So that he doubled down even more. He's like, no, you're not getting your hands on my newsroom, on my team,
because
even if you're British. Exactly. So there's many different ways of looking at this. Like, who fought against it? Was it the British government changing the rule? So Cardinale overcame that. That said that IMI can't own it. So they said they minimized it to 15%. Okay, new bid. RedBird will be the lead. IMI, you only get 15%. New bid. New bid blocked, not by the UK government, blocked by the internal journalists, and he gave up. In the end, he went back, and now he's focused as part of this Warner Brothers Discovery. Everyone in the US is involved in the $70 billion takeover. The three bids went in on the 20th of November, one from Comcast, one from Paramount, Larry Ellison, David Ellison, the son, and the third one is from Netflix. So they've all put bids in. We think the Comcast bid is part of we're not sure where the sovereign wealth funds are in. Are they with the Brian Roberts, the Comcast people? Are they with David Ellison, Skydance Paramount, who recently just bought Paramount? So we don't know where the money is, but it's talked about word of $21 billion from the region, 7 from each of the big funds, one from Saudi, one from Qatar, 7 billion, one from Abu Dhabi, making 21 billion, and the rest would be made up by the Ellisons or the Roberts as 50 billion to buy what is the actual CNN, what is the actual HBO, the ones that power like the CNN here, am here, the ones that power OSN here, and many other titles, Warner Brothers itself, the studios, all the movies, all the history of movies. That's why it's worth 70 billion, right, and not 7 billion, which Paramount was bought for. So there's something going on there at that level. But the whole like RedBird-IMI, like I was at an ADNOC buying coffee the other day, and I took a video. I was at two ADNOCs. One, I took a video of the newsstand, and the newsstand was it became this size. For those listening to the podcast, it became like the size of my palm. Like, it was so small. Whereas newsstands, even in Ireland today, in newsagents and in service stations and gas stations, are full. But here, print is so gone, right? And then the next ADNOC had no print at all. And so we obviously don't get the Telegraph here, and we don't see it online. It's behind a paywall or whatever. So it's not that big a story, but there are lenses. There is can we own media elsewhere? So the funny thing is now, this is where deal making is getting so interesting. You're not letting someone own a bit of Telegraph. They were going to let them 15%. Yet now they could buy.
So exciting.
Yeah.
And by the way, I totally think they're going to do it, because we saw how recently with that guy, I hope I get his name right, Eric Feig, they started this new studio, Arena SNK Studios, the $1 billion Hollywood studio that Saudi Arabia is backing. They're making steps towards that. And we see it with Riyadh Season. You've got, all of these Lebanese artists, Syrian artists, Saudi artists there, and they really want to increase their entertainment hub. But Rich, just back to the Telegraph battle once again, I just want to mention something. With the New York Times, this was a very famous case back in the day. I say back in the day like I was older. I really wasn't. But you told me about it. The case about Jane Arif. Basically, she was this lady. She was employed to be the editor of the New York Times in Baghdad, in Iraq. And at that time, that is actually when their newsroom was most flourishing. And that lady, by the way, by origin, they say that she's Palestinian. And the reason why she ended up getting fired, reportedly, is because basically they tried to cut costs of the writers who were Iraqi, and she fought back, she pushed back against that, and she ended up being fired. And apparently, until that time, they have not ran a successful office. And this is what I'm saying. If you want to give people successful news for them, for their region, you need to have people who are actually from the region.
I agree with you, but
I think 15% doesn't make a difference. So I see what you're saying.
It's kind of my point to IMI and to media investors in the region, that why not invest in the media titles here, like Gulf News, Khaleej Times. They're investing in the National, Sharq Al Aswad, Arab News. There's many old Lebanese newspapers, An-Nahar, and all these other ones. There's great titles, Masr al-Yom, and all the different titles in different countries. Why not invest in these? Make them accessible in English. Make them global. Like, if we're saying,
because they don't believe in it. I think it's just
vision. It is, but it's also like buying off the shelf. Like, we buy the Telegraph, we put money into that. We have our best talents and minds in Abu Dhabi strategizing over owning something that has influence in the House of Lords. Who cares about the House of Lords? Like, who cares about the tour? Who cares? It's one country, you know? Like, yes, have relations, but like, build the region, build the media in the region, you know? Like, if I was strategizing, I'd be going, okay, New York Times are up to 12 million subscribers. They say there's 1 billion people on the planet who want to consume highbrow English content, text first, then podcasts and other social media. So why aren't we doing that here? Why don't we have 12 million subscribers of a media from here that's subscription and text? You know why? Because the titles here, the content that they put in social media is very like what we do on Love in Dubai. Is very like, you know, announcement of an event or whatever. But the New York Times don't do that. They do thought leadership, they do opinions, they put the best journalists. And you can do that with a regional media lens. You definitely can. You know, you can do that isn't linked to the First Amendment in the US, one constitution to one country. You can build media in the region that's respectable of the culture, the tradition, the Prophet, peace be upon him, the leadership. You can do media in the region that isn't defamatory, that isn't negative, that doesn't have Western views. You can do it, and you can do it for paid if you aim to do it. If you strategize and if you go, I'm going to build high quality content with digital subscription, with digital ads, a proper business that is run like a business, the New York Times is listed on the stock market. So is SRMG, but none of the other newspapers I mentioned are, right? Because they're seen to be, not even Al Jazeera, AJ Plus, like none of those are listed, right? Because they're seen to be state broadcasters. But even state broadcasters can be listed and can have integrity, and from this region, I truly believe it.
You know what it also might be, by the way? You constantly mention Rupert Murdoch and how he saw media as a business. It might be the fact that here, not many people actually see it as a business. And I know, we recently saw the Egyptian billionaire, Naguib Sawiris, Egypt's richest man now, by the way. He beat his brother. He came, he started Monify, then they laid off like over 80% of the staff, but now they're doing great. But I think it's that fact of maybe they don't actually see it as a business. It's just the news. It's just the news that we're putting on. I think maybe it's that difference in perspective is what it takes. But you see it as a business.
Yeah, I think they want to see it as a business. I totally agree with you. I think like they do have. It's a private business. They do have advertising. They have good execs in all these companies. But yeah, the region. The media story in the region is still nascent. We're still a couple of hundred years behind in terms of when the printing press came to the region, media laws. But we're seeing so much positivity. Like we're seeing lots of good success stories. We're seeing modern media evolving all the time. Like these summits, these creators, like all this sort of stuff. Platforms aren't blocked here.
Nobody has done something like 1 billion summit yet. I don't think so. If you don't know 1 Billion Summit, by the way, it's overseen by the UAE Media Council, so there's a lot of eyes there on it, and they're basically calling it the largest creator summit in the world. And what they're basically doing, and I always find this concept so crazy, and when I tell people, they get surprised of why are we suddenly seeing such famous influencers walk right past you in Dubai. It's because they're being invited here. They're told if you come here, we're going to give you a golden visa. Have we actually ever seen an organization do that before? Be very specific and try and empower content creators. I even saw something in the UK of content creators there struggling to get mortgage because it's not actually seen as a job. As a serious, it's not seen as a serious profession.
And in the US, they're trying to block TikTok all the time and everything. Like they're really embracing it here, and not just Dubai's doing amazing. Like the CEO of Visioneers, Ali Al-Hamadi, who's leading that female who's built up 1 billion follower summit, really good, with a great team and everyone's helping, but they've really done an amazing job. Like I talk at length about it before, that every time they keep adding things, they keep adding what they're doing with Mr. Beast, the partnership, they adding, focus groups, different private rooms, they keep adding things to it. It's really impressive. But also, every part of the region has impressive things now, like the Bridge Summit in Abu Dhabi, first year, that's going to be amazing. Richard Atias and Associates, who were the brains behind FII in its 9th year now in Riyadh. And, we're talking about MWC in Qatar. Qatar keep doing impressive things. They had a fashion event over the weekend, but they keep doing impressive things, right? The Web Summit, they're going to do something with Fanatics, with Michael Rubin, absolutely incredible success story in the collectibles space, like it's worth billions. So they keep on bringing things in, testing things out, and it's all part of the wider modern media space. Like you mentioned, that entity that's doing the Hollywood production in Saudi. We also talked at length on the podcast about Mari, the partnership with Ari Emanuel, that's live events. But so there's lots of other IPs and strategic partnerships happening.
There is. I think what I love about the UAE the most is they see the potential in overseas investments, and in a very landmark move, the UAE has launched a $1 billion initiative to support artificial intelligence projects across Africa. So announced at the G20 summit by the Abu Dhabi Crown Prince, His Highness Sheikh Khalid bin Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the AI for Development program aims to expand the use of advanced technologies in education, agriculture, and national infrastructure. So what he actually had to say about this is specifically for the UAE's commitment to sustainable growth through international partnerships and innovative financing solutions. And I think that's kind of what I brought up earlier, that point of democratizing AI, and while we might be really privileged to have access to such things, it's not actually all countries that have access to them, or even this idea of internet. But what do you think about this entire story, Rich?
Yeah, I liked what you said earlier about the accessibility of it. I think that's a good point to connect to both stories, or both your point of view on accessibility and this investment for Africa. I don't know further to add on it. I think it's a brilliant initiative, brilliant investment, and the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi is pushing it as well. So you can just see this sort of alignment across the leadership in Abu Dhabi, you know, whether it's Sheikh Tahnoon or whether it's the Crown Prince, or, you know, or even like the ADIO investments. Like, you can just see the sort of alignment across Abu Dhabi leadership, government leadership, but also the region. You know, we mentioned Humane a lot. That's kind of the Saudi strategy for AI in terms of investments and data centers, and I just think it's impressive.
I think for me, what I also think about is honestly that point of view, saying how really well aware that they are. This company, it's not really talked about enough, but do you remember, Rich, Invictus Trading? It's basically this Sudanese company. It was started by the richest man, many would say, in Sudan, and his name's Osama Dawood. And in fact, Invictus is listed in Abu Dhabi, and I'm pretty sure that ADX actually has a very large percentage stake in it. And the reason why I specifically mention this, and the reason why I bring it up, is because I don't know if I emphasized this enough before, but the Sudanese billionaire Osama Dawood, he really does control a lot in Sudan. In fact, he is the one who brought in Coca-Cola, Mercedes, Caterpillar. There's a lot of global brands that he actually made accessible in Sudan, and for him to begin this trading company that does not just operate in Sudan, but operates across all of Africa, that is very successful, and then he collaborates with many in Abu Dhabi. I think it's telling you how they're very aware of who the main leaders are in the market. And I think that's really important to take advantage of. But anyways, thank you, Rich. Thank you for doing the show with me today. Inshallah, we're going to have Majid back on the show soon. This is Smashi Business, a Smashi Business production under the Augustus Media Podcast Network. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.